Welcome back, friends. This is Yvonne Davis, your traveling warrior astrologer, and I am bringing this to you from under the stars. Today, I'm going to be talking about some very interesting alignments on July 27th, primarily Mercury conjunct Venus in Leo. And there's a lot happening in this area of our charts because Venus is retrograde. So the highlight is on Venus and also Leo because Venus is retrograding in Leo. So what's happening there is super important in our lives right now. We also have what's called a stellium in Leo because we have the Sun moving through Leo, Mercury, and of course, Venus stationing retrograde. We want to look at what's happening in that area of our charts, and I'm going to give you some guidance to help you make the most of that, okay? While I'm talking about that, I also want to point out that the North Node in Aries is going to bring significant change in your life in the next year and a half in that specific area of your life where Aries is. So I hope that you can look at your own natal chart and see where Aries is for you, and then look at the area in terms of what that house represents. So, for example, the first house is your sense of self. So that would radically change in the next year and a half. The second house is self-worth and income, personal assets. So that would change in the next year and a half, and on and on. I'm not going to go through all of the houses right now, but if you are interested, I do have a class called Astrology Basics, and we also meet once a week on Zoom in that class. It's self-paced, but you get to join the weekly Zoom meetings. So let's go now and look at one other place where you have to pay attention, and that's Taurus, because Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus, and Jupiter will only be there until sometime in mid to late May 2024. And you absolutely have to pay attention to that because Jupiter is the great benefic. The North Node and Jupiter have a similar energy in that they are expansive, they're benefic, and forward moving. So they are always trying to take you into your future to help you to expand, to grow, to move forward and outward, and to bring good things into your life. So it's like they're opening up a channel to abundance in those areas of your life. So you absolutely want to know where Aries is in your chart because of the North Node there until the end of 2024, and Jupiter in Taurus until approximately mid to late May 2024. You cannot afford to miss out on the benefits that these two will bring to those areas of your life. So I want to make sure that you know where that is, okay? Again, you can sign up for the class. There's always a link below. You can join me on Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and we meet on Zoom. And that way you can ask any questions you want to. We spend 2 hours, and my astrology community is free to ask any questions they want, personal or worldwide, doesn't matter. Or, of course, you can get a personal reading for $99. Okay, those links are below. Now let's get back to talking about this Mercury conjunction to Venus in Leo, while at the same time the Sun is in Leo. So we have a stellium there. This is where we want to focus our attention, because basically what I see this as meaning when I see the Mercury conjunction to Venus, especially when she's retrograde in Leo, and I'm asking myself the question, what lights your fire? I'm asking myself that question, and I'm asking you that question. What lights your fire? Because Mercury is all about the mind, the way we think, the way we perceive, the way we create our reality, okay? Because we're taking information in, we're processing it in our minds, and then we're expressing ourselves. So doing that is what creates our reality. In Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun, but it's the fifth house of fun, play, recreation, creativity, hobbies. It can also include children, but I think it's most important to think about where in your life you are creating, you're having fun, you're playing, you're recreating, which means recreating yourself in terms of being able to refresh and vitalize yourself, okay? Because you are meeting your need for fun and play and creativity and recreation and hobbies. This is why I'm asking you, what lights your fire? Because, Mercury is all about creating your reality, and Leo is all about fun, play, creation, recreation, and hobbies. And so I'm asking you, what lights your fire? Because you need that in your life. You need to know where your fire is, where your heart is, where your passion is, where your love is, where your romance is. And I don't necessarily mean a romantic relationship. I just mean your love of life. What lights your fire? Because that's what Venus is asking you, and that's what the Mercury conjunction to Venus is asking you. Are you going to do what lights your fire? Or are you going to smash it down, tamp it down, smother it, kill that fire? What choice are you going to make? So that's what this Mercury conjunction to Venus retrograde in Leo is asking. And there's some other interesting things happening on this day which kind of stimulate this whole thing because the moon is in Scorpio. Scorpio is very deep, emotional, and watery. And sometimes you may not notice that, when you meet a Scorpio because of the way that they tend to express themselves emotionally. They usually go quiet and just send out this terrible stinger when they're fed up. But it is very deep and passionate. And it's also capable of looking deeply into the subconscious. So because Scorpio rules the eighth house, which is deep psychological transformation, vulnerability, intimacy. And so, with the moon there, which is our emotions and subconscious, we may react out of some deep pattern that we're not necessarily aware of. And that's the whole point of this Venus retrograde, is to try and understand what is deep in the subconscious that wants to come out and be revealed. I use the word shadow and subconscious interchangeably. So if you ever hear me say, what's in your shadow, what's in your subconscious, what's in the underworld, because I talked about that in the Venus retrograde, those are all pointing to the same thing. If you want to understand this better, go and watch my Venus retrograde video and it'll help you to understand this. But with that moon in Scorpio, we're going to be getting some deep insights, but it's going to come through being triggered most likely because the moon is opposite Uranus, and that often does trigger people emotionally. So you might find yourself getting angry, frustrated, enraged, outraged, or sad or depressed, depending on how you respond to these things emotionally. And it's in a square to that Mercury conjunction to Venus retrograde in Leo. So it's like it's forming a T square, okay? And it starts out early in the morning of the 27th with that opposition to Uranus. So keep that in mind because you may wake up. In fact, you may even have a hard time sleeping. Sometimes Uranus does that, it causes insomnia. So you may actually wake up early, or you may have some strange dream, or it may be in the morning that you get triggered. Something that happens at home while you're trying to get ready, or on the drive, if you commute, just anything. But it starts out early. That doesn't mean that it's only contained to the early morning. It can last quite a few hours into the day while it's in an opposition to Uranus, and then making that square to Mercury and to Venus while they are conjunct. and that happens in the afternoon. Okay, so that day may be fairly challenging on many levels in many different areas of your life. And now, if it's not challenging, then yay for you. But still, what you want to do is you want to try to get some deep insight, however you find that possible. That may be through some meditation or journaling or, other forms of writing or exploration of your inner psyche or talking to someone that you trust. The main thing is just keeping an eye out for when you get triggered, because that is the clue to what matters to you. And that's what I'm asking you. What matters to you? What lights your fire? Because if you can follow what you're passionate about, you will be so much happier in the long run. But sometimes we have to get triggered first. Sometimes we have to have our wounds poked, and it hurts, it's uncomfortable, it makes us angry, and that's where we act out of being triggered. We always think it's someone else's fault. We want to blame something or someone external to us. But I'm telling you, if you really want to change your life and make it better, you've got to recognize that when you're triggered, that's you. It's pointing to what matters to you, some need that's not being met. And the way to get it met is to first take responsibility and say, okay, I'm getting triggered because there's something deep down inside that really matters to me. I'm maybe pointing a finger at something or someone else external to me, but no, point it back to yourself and say, what is it in me that's upset? What is it in me that wants something that matters to me, something that lights my fire that I want, and I can't seem to find it externally. And in fact, not only am I having a hard time finding it externally, but the the absence of it is getting triggered. There's a flashpoint, and you're pointing the finger outward at something or someone external. Point it back to yourself. Take responsibility for the need that is not being met. Find out what that need is. That's how you find out what lights your fire, okay? All of these things are connected. They're trying to point you to what it is that matters to you, that lights your fire, and then you can go for it. So this is actually a super helpful day. Even if you find it challenging, I promise you, if you can make the most of this day and these alignments, you will go far in the future, because you will start to see where you want to focus your attention and your intention to manifest what you want in life. Then you can go back to where the North Node is and where Jupiter is. Those areas of your life where you're getting all that beneficial energy that's opening up the channel to abundance, and start to make these things happen. But first you have to know what it is you want. First you have to know what lights your fire. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear how things go for you guys. Put comments in the comment boxes below so we can talk about this, okay? Or come on over to my Patreon, or sign up for my Astrology Basics course, or get a reading from me. You can always find it in the description box below. All right, that's it for now, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.